Hey everyone, it is Thursday. You know what that means. We bring on Jonathan Twomley. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Folks, if you're new to the channel, this is my puppy, Jimbo. He's 15 and a half. He's not feeling all that well, so I have him on my shoulder just to try to keep him quiet so we can get through this discussion with Jonathan. So first topic always, Jonathan, is unemployment. We get to talk about that. It comes out about 6 a.m. my time. So what'd you see? What do you think? I think my thoughts on it
Well,
are evolving.
unexpectedly good.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, relatively speaking, right?
Yeah, really.
But it was down to 779,000 claims.
Yep.
And the prior week was revised also
Mm-hmm.
and to 812. And, it seems like people are starting to hire again, and that's good. And so, you know, this is one of those things, as you and I have said in the past, like, you want to be wrong about, right? And we were saying we thought it was going to be going up, but it looks like it's going down. Maybe we hit the peak. It's we've been seeing something interesting too with the virus itself, which is that it seems to have peaked, right? Potentially, right? So at least here in New York, the new cases have been declining, and it seems like there was a peak a few weeks ago, and since then it's been declining. And what they're saying is that perhaps it's a combination of people getting vaccines and growing immunity, herd immunity, and people finally getting kind of, putting on their big boy pants and just wearing the masks because they're like, hey, if this thing is almost over, who wants to take a chance and get sick like right before this is done? So, so that's a good trend. And if the caseload is declining, that means that more things can open, and all of that is good news. So here we are, we're heading into spring eventually, even though Pakistani Phil said we've got 6 more weeks of winter. That guy doesn't have such a good track record, so we'll see. But I think there's some reason for optimism.
Yeah.
And we're going to get some more stimulus money. We don't know how much. They're going to fight about it, but it's definitely not going to be zero. So that is going to also help kind of juice the recovery. So I'd say the trend is not bad. And we also saw, the continuing claims decline for the last track, which that's a lagging one by about 2 weeks. But still, that's also good news if it's declining for the right reason, which is that people have just not exhausted their benefits.
Right.
We don't really know what the reason is, but the new claims is helpful. And if it continues downward, I mean, look, it'll be when we get down to that previous record of 660,000 new claims in a week, I think that will be cause for celebration.
Yeah. I was thinking of that same number. As I kind of indicated early on, I'm flipping my script, right? I think we have seen, not that there's not more pain ahead. So I really want people to hear this. There is definitely more pain ahead, but we are through the worst of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. It gets better from here. And I think it gets noticeably better from here. I think the states like California that were they were listening to the scientists and not being, understanding the economy, and you could have done different things. Now we're all of a sudden open, just out of nowhere. We're wildly open. And now San Francisco leadership is suing the school systems to open schools. All of these things tell me that we are going to go on a path of opening, which will mean hiring. And I think it gets better from here. I think there's more stimulus coming. I think it's going to be more focused. It won't be 100 grand. It might be 50 grand, but there's more money coming. I think there will be, that comes in February or March. I think there's an infrastructure bill right behind it that is going to be significant in market moving. I think very quickly, unemployment is going to get below that 660 number, as far as new claims. And I think we're going to very quickly, probably in 6 to 8 weeks, talk about inflation. I mean, this thing is going to turn on its head, and you and I won't be talking about unemployment claims anymore. It'll be, okay, what's going on with consumer inflation, asset inflation, what's going on? There's all this money on the sidelines, dry powder, stimulus. I mean, it's going to change faster than people think, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, we'll see, because I think this is a huge economy.
Hmm.
It's a very diverse economy,
Hmm.
and it's like a battleship, and it's hard to turn a battleship, as they say, right? And I think there's still going to be continuing fallout, right? The new claims. I mean, look, if we're at 600,000 new claims every week, we're all going to be saying, "Oh, isn't that great?" Except that, it should be like 150 to 200,000 claims a
Right.
week, right? So we still have to work through that inventory, so to speak, of like the businesses that have failed, all those people that have been unemployed for a long time. They've got to get reemployed. It's going to take a while,
Sure.
even if we have really good, robust growth, right? It's not going to happen overnight. So we're going to be like working our way through that that very large group of people who lost their jobs. And I think
Hmm.
some of we know that some businesses are never going to come back, right? And unfortunately, I think, just the way that things have been working in our economy for the last few decades, like the zombie companies that should have gone away have got bailed out,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of like small businesses that were doing fine, but they're just thinly capitalized because they're small, are gone. They didn't get bailed out. And so we don't really have the creative destruction that you want to have, where you've got, misallocation of resources towards companies that should be out of business, and but companies that should stay in business, those small businesses that are really the driver of the economy, but don't have any political clout,
Hmm.
they're the ones who bore the brunt of this, right?
For sure.
So, uh, and obviously there are hotels that are different, there are different categories of things, but for the most part, like the people that have really gotten hurt are the people who didn't have the clout in Wall Street, and I mean, so the clout of Wall Street with the government to get themselves, bailed out, and the people who had the clout did. So we're still going to like work our way through that. And so I think it's going to be with us for a while. I think it's going to feel a lot like it did after the Great Recession, where, the economists would say, we're growing, the economy's growing, right?
Yep.
And, but looking around, everybody was like, this still sucks, right? Because they were looking around and the stores are still boarded up on the main street, and, they're still seeing the pain. There's still lots of people who have no jobs, or they're still looking for jobs. So it's going to take a while
Yeah.
for that. But I frankly, I'm really would be really encouraged if a real infrastructure bill got passed. And I know that was supposed to be like Trump's big thing. His bill never went anywhere. It didn't have any support.
Hmm.
And uh, but a real infrastructure. I mean, the infrastructure of the country has been allowed to deteriorate so badly over the last really 2 generations that, I mean, look at you in California. Like, California used to be famous for how good its infrastructure was, right? And it's
Yeah.
been allowed to deteriorate over the last couple of decades. I mean, I remember as a kid, like, California was the promised land, right? Because
Hmm.
the schools were amazing, the highways were amazing, like everything was amazing, and it's been allowed to like fall apart. So we really need that. Uh,
Agreed.
yeah, I mean, New York has been falling apart forever. It's been falling apart for 100 years. So we're just used to it here. But like, um, but we really need that, and it would be the kind of stimulus that the economy really needs, which is not just handing more money to banks, but like rebuilding the country, which
Hmm.
provides a huge economic stimulus. Not just, I mean, there's the jobs it creates, which is great, right? Real jobs, real people, normal people get more money in their pockets. That is a good thing. But making the economy more efficient, where you're not having like the traffic jams from the breakdowns, you're not having all the lost time and productivity that results from infrastructure that's falling apart,
Hmm.
right? Or not modern. I think that is also hugely stimulative. And some of the stuff that they're talking about, like universal broadband, I mean, that's a huge, having a house in the country where we have no access to broadband is, it's really changes how you operate. It makes
Yeah,
it much more
it's
difficult.
noticeable.
Oh, it is noticeable, and not just like for the entertainment stuff. Like I can't do like Zoom calls and stuff, right?
Mm,
Because where the satellite is, traveling across the sky and it gets out of range and we're waiting for the next satellite to come and it's pinging, it's horrible, right? So can't have a cell phone call, right? And
wow.
so that kind of stuff is going to really help, you know, get, especially if it's true what they say about the economy shifting to kind of like the work from anywhere,
Hmm.
whatever, like that is really a big piece of that. If we don't have reliable broadband in throughout the country, then certain areas will get left behind. And, this will help. I
Yeah.
think it really would stimulate a lot of like small town economies to be able to have, for people like me to say, hey, I'm going to relocate full time to this small town and move and do my business from there and bring all of my economic, you know,
Activity. Yeah.
firepower and activity
Hmm.
to this town. Can't do that right now, but
Yeah.
we're not everywhere. But so I think it would be a really good thing for the economy. Even just much better than sending everybody checks.
No,
So
totally agree. Yeah, and I just want to clarify again. I think what's going to happen is I think the economy is going to get better from here. Q2 better in Q1, Q3 better in Q2. Um, I really do think the unemployment claims is going to be trending down from here. It may not. It's not going to crash. I don't want to. It's not going to be suddenly 200,000 by February 15th or something. But I do think what we're going to see probably by the summer is you and I are going to be talking about a 10-year Treasury bill that's not 1.17 or 1.18, but it's probably like 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. And that's going to have ripple effects in the economy.
yeah, and it also has big implications for investors, right?
Exactly.
It is potentially good for if you're a buyer, even though it sounds counterintuitive, higher interest rates, but it will cause pricing to
Hmm.
change as a result.
For
And
sure.
that's good. Not so good for people who own and are trying to sell, uh, good for people who want to buy.
Yep.
And we'll also see sort of where that, I mean, look, we don't, it's like the butterfly, you know, flapping its wings in South America and it causes a hurricane, and somewhere else, right?
Right.
You don't know how these causal chains really work out. There, it's going to, if interest rates cause Wall Street to collapse, right? The stock market has been really, I think a lot of people would agree, overvalued for a long time.
Hmm.
And, they're worried that even this GameStop thing could be the spark that causes the whole thing to crumble. Uh, you know, it's, uh, interest rates could be the thing that does that too. And then that will affect the investment markets as well, because
Yep.
people will in general get more skittish about investing, period. But some people just literally, like, their wealth is going to take a huge hit and they're not going to have the money to invest. So we don't know how this is going to play out
Yep.
exactly, but
Yeah.
it will, uh, changes create opportunity, right? That's economic
It,
changes create opportunity.
it,
So whatever happens is going to create some opportunity somewhere.
yeah. For me, it's always about I always look for the inflection points, right? Trends go on for quite a while in real estate and investing. And I'm always looking for that trend change, because if you can see the trend change, the inflection point
Yep.
early, you can position yourself to oversize your returns. That's essentially what I've been trying to do for 20 years. I'm not right all the time. Nobody probably is, but I've been right a couple of times, big time. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
looking for.
And the thing about markets too is that every market, it doesn't matter what the asset is, whether it's stocks or real estate or, whatever it is. Maybe Bitcoin is the only one that is different, but because who knows? I mean, we don't still don't even know what the hell that is. But um, the markets take the stairs up and they take the elevator down, right?
Yes.
So these bull markets can go on for a long time, and what will happen is they lull a lot of people who are new, who have not been involved in previous cycles, to think that this is going to go on forever, and that causes more money, more money more and more marginal players, and more marginal investments get bought
Oh yeah.
at the top, and
Yeah.
then when the confidence goes, or whatever the trigger is, it goes down pretty hard and pretty fast. So
I've seen it in dozens of markets over my career. Stairs up, elevator down is a great analogy. So
yeah.
very cool. This has been a fun first conversation. I look forward to our next two. Thank you very
Yep.
much. All right.